I will start the presentation by just providing you like the mandatory about me section. After that, I will talk about the exploit chains, what are they, then a bit of event correlation and process monitoring. So as you told me, I'm a research fellow at NTNU. I'm also doing my PhD from there. I received like an innovation medal from Interpol for developing future smart city concepts. I'm also a member of their world expert group on smart city policing. I also involved in strategic level policy making in Norway, and I also recently led their joint civil military team on cyber strategy in a recent 9/12 challenge. I am also involved in training and selection of their national team for European Cybersecurity Challenge. And in terms of my cert game, I have like 18 plus certification, I think, which include LPD, OSCP, CISO, many. I don't remember how many, but there are many. So what is an exploit chain? So an exploit chain is a group of exploits that execute synchronously in order to achieve the system exploitation. So unlike high-risk vulnerabilities, they allow system exploitation using only one execution step. An exploit chain takes advantage of multiple vulnerabilities, low and medium-low risk vulnerabilities, to get system-level privilege or to compromise it. So when we see like a single vulnerability exploitation, we see like they have like a very simple graph. So you just start identify a vulnerability like a major vulnerability like in an assembly like eternal view, exploit it, and you will have like the root privilege of the whole system. So these are some of the examples of like high-risk vulnerabilities that can be exploited like within one execution step. But in exploit chains, you see like you find a vulnerability, you exploit it. But after you exploit it, you get a lot of data that you use that data to identify other vulnerabilities and exploit them. So like yesterday, there was like Trend Micro Zero Day initiative was going on. So like the Froset due like again exploited as performed like an exploit chain from integer overflow in a JavaScript to retrieval of like an image from a Samsung phone through NFC communication. So we know these things like exploit chains and what are they and how they are being exploited in the wild. But is there a way to detect them? Because if you detect like a single vulnerability, you know, like this is like the low-hanging fruit, you can patch them. But in terms of exploit chains, you have like multiple low-hanging fruits that are very hard to detect. Okay, so even if you patch like one vulnerability, they can find another. So there was actually like a very good work that was going on in Japan CERT. So they released like a very major report. So this research is based upon their report. So if I have seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of them. So they were actually the giants. So I'm giving them full credit. So they released this report in like early 2017 about detecting lateral movement within a network. So this is a very important report. If you don't know it, like as a blue guy or as a forensics guy, then you are not doing it right. So in this report, they talked about the exploitation tools that are used by different hackers, like Mimikatz, Metapredator, and Metasploit, and the type of logs which they generate. So they curated a very long list of logs, Windows logs, that are generated by the usage of those tools. The only problem with this report is that they have like the information about the logs that are generated by free tools like Metasploit and but if you go for like paid tool like Cobalt, like you can't get the information of the logs that were generated by them. So if we think about our priorities in terms of security, there is a lot of buzz about machine learning and blockchain, but I will show you like the most important things are the event logs as suggested by this meme. This is the only meme in the whole presentation. So I'm actually focusing on the event log that is process creation event. So this is the process creation event ID 4688. You can see a lot of information was there in this event log. But how we can use these informations? So it have like new process ID, process name, process ID, command line arguments. Those were the main important point of interest. And from the same report, we got the information what type of processes a hacker can use after like an exploitation. So these are some of the major processes that if a Windows-based system is exploited, a hacker can use to gain further privilege like CMD, PowerShell, RegistVL, and run DLL. or you can monitor any process if you want, but these are the major processes. So I am focusing on those processes. So I developed an algorithm that take the information from the event logs and correlate the information with the processes that are being running, and try to identify like some sort of activity, malicious activity from one process to another process, how he's moving, and how is he like exploiting the vulnerabilities. So this is a like an algorithm is like a word used by programmers to when they do not want to explain what they did. So this was like the algorithm looks like. It looks a bit scary, maybe not a bit understandable. So what it do? I took like a list of event logs, what ordered list of event logs, and try to identify like the information from them. I can explain it like in a very easy manner. So these are the event logs, and these are the important process information that we are looking for. We are looking for process ID, new process ID, and process ID. So both those are hexadecimal values, and both are unique. So check this event log. You can see it's new process ID and process ID. Now, if we go there, did you find anything similar? If you look through. So that was like a CMD, that was like a PowerShell process, and there is like a CMD process. And if you see like this, its process ID was actually the new process ID of the CMD process. So the CMD process actually executed that PowerShell process. If we go further down in the row, we have like a VMware process running out. So from that VMware process, we can see like that VMware process has a new process ID of 270, and that executed like a CMD process. So we have like a chain, like a VMware. It's hard to imagine that a VMware executing a CMD, but I will show you how they are doing this. So they have like a very famous guest to host exploit. So even if you are monitoring the VMware host guest running in it, you are not sure if somebody exploits the process isolation, he can break the VMware isolation and move into the host OS. But in the host OS, the logs are coming like in a recursive manner. So you see like the timeline is like this. First, the VMware process was executed. After that, CMD process was executed. After that, a PowerShell process was executed. But when you are reading the logs from the event logs, you see you will read first the PowerShell process. After that, you will read the CMD process. After that, you will read the VMware process. So you have to read in a backward manner. So you have to look back in time what is happening. So when we get our hands dirty a bit, so there is like example of like McRealSDD, he follows the same suit. I have like a whole publication that is explaining about the type of vulnerabilities they're exploiting. So you can see like it was like a snapshot from process monitor. So you can see like PowerShell, CMD, and Windows Word. So Windows Word executed CMD, and that led to PowerShell. And you can launch a PowerShell Empire beacon from it. And same with the VMware. So you can see the thing like how it is moving. In a normal scenario, it not expected to happen. But yeah, and it is like a very raw log from the detection algorithm. Like you can see like how the exploit chain is working, how the things are going on there. So during this testing or development of this, we needed some sort of 0 days exploit to prove our point. So there is like an Enigma exploit of McRealSDD version. So what we did was like we weaponized it in a PowerPoint version and uploaded it on VirusTotal. And the weaponized version was have like 0 detections, but the PowerPoint was signed by my name. So there was a very famous researcher from FireEye. He detected that weaponization of PowerPoint exploit. And then he was actually tagging me on the tweets that this guy is actually exploiting those things. Then, like in July this year, I met one of his colleagues, Marina Kotelov. I think many of you know him. So I told her about that story. And then they like call it like from an impressive common commitment from attribution to a VT sample, hunting down in soon. So we can argue that like our chain of like way of testing the thing works. But you know things like, you know like there is some sort of activity going on, but what exactly the activity is going on this thing in the whole exploitation. So you can see like the processor moving up and down, but what are they actually doing? So if we analyze the event log again, we can see that there was this command line argument. We can get the information from this command line argument. So, we can see this command line argument, but there are like Google ways to like open like a single calc exe. So you see like you can open calc like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. It will open calc. So it will like confuse the defender. This is like the research of DOS obfuscation done by Daniel Buchanan. So he provided like a whole framework to like obfuscate commands. So even if you're like trying to detect via a command line argument, it would be very hard because the commands will be obfuscated if the attacker is like a bit smart. So it would be very hard for you to detect it. But here, we can use the good old machine learning because we should use it where we can, where it is usable. So this is like the data set from Daniel Buchanan DOS obfuscation. So we use this data set. In order to train our machine learning algorithm, we identify like 4 different classification types. On this, we train like a naive-based algorithm. And we were able to achieve like, in most of the classification categories, more than 90% accuracy. So it was like a natural language processing techniques in which we use a bucket of words. So it can like check the words and match them from the command. So you can easily identify like a lot of different categories. These are some of the results from the 14 classification techniques from PowerShell uninstalling software, deleting the logs, like WMI binary planting and stuff like that. So you can use this machine learning techniques very well in this context. So I made this research public and everything is accessible. In 2 publications, so first was like in San Francisco, where I discussed the Windows-based exploit and guest host exploit with VMware research head. And the second was also in Romania. It was like combining of this natural language processing techniques on the algorithms, on the event logs. So why we take so much effort in this technique? Because there are a lot of SIEM solutions and what you call, like from IBM, like Curadar, and stuff like that, they're doing a lot of stuff. But I am actually working on Norwegian Cyber Range. It's like a €7 million project, so in which we do a lot of cybersecurity exercises. For those cybersecurity exercises, like in normal scenario, you'll use like flags, like hexadecimal values. Those are static, that a hacker can get them and put them in a scoreboard and receive that points. But the way, the technique which I implemented is getting the event logs from different devices present within a CTF platform, and from those event logs can identify the movement of like the players, like how they are moving, how the exploiter is using, and what type of techniques they are using. After that, we can score them automatically based upon the things. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Now, are there any questions? Yep, I'm just gonna go to the closest one to me.
Man, thanks for the presentation, awesome stuff. Love the Bitcoin sticker, really cool, and you have such a great curriculum. So my question will be more personal than based on your presentation. Like you did so much stuff. What was like the most mind-blowing thing that you have done in your whole career? Thanks.
So
but you like personally, like not other people, yourself.
Yeah, so there was a very famous cryptographer, John Damon. So I social engineered my way to get a photo. So, so that was a very interesting photo. So we were in like a very isolated place in Finchley. So there was like the cryptographer heavens, like Adi Shamir was there, John Damon was there, and all the cryptography gods were there. So when he was presenting, he started his presentation, he took like a selfie for his girlfriend. After his presentation, I asked, can you give me that? He said, no, you have to take the consent of everybody due to GDPR. I said, okay, so we were there like for a week. So in Norway, when we have like lunch or dinner, we sat together and somebody have to like pour water in everybody's glass. So what I did was, I took the glass of water with me and poured water in everybody's glass except his. For 2 days, he was so not happy with that, and he just gave me.
Any more questions? Yeah.
By the way, I can show you that photo if you want.
Hi. So is your algorithm part of any anti-malware solution?
Not yet, but we open sourced it, so anybody can use it.
Okay.
So-
And so next question: have you ever encountered false positive yet?
Yeah, we have a lot of false positive, but you know, like it is currently used for like scoring purposes. But maybe in future, maybe we will use it like for actual detections.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, hello, thank you for the presentation. My question is for you personally. What is the most operating system that has the most security vulnerabilities or exploits?
I can't answer these questions because it's all depends upon the user. Yeah, how he is using it.
Okay, thank you.
Any more non-debatable questions?
Hi, good talk. So my question is, the machine learning that you use for natural language processing, does it always or only work on command lines, or do you scrap code through it? I was wondering how exactly do you use natural language to detect malware? Because
Yeah, so when you use like normal machine learning approach, so it actually divides the words into small chunks, okay, small bytes. So you can have like a matching scheme with those bytes. So it have like allocate a percentage to those, how much percent this chunk of bytes match with those chunk of bytes in order to classify according to the given requirement. So you have like a classifier that classify the things.
so where does the natural language part comes in? I mean,
So
maybe I'm not understanding natural language
so
the way you do, because
so when
you have to match some words
yeah
and classify it as malicious or not malicious.
yes.
So
So the technique is like this. So when we speak to our phone, like it convert into like text. So that text is actually being classified based upon some set of criteria. So this is like the same thing, but in terms of like translating English from a phone, I used like malicious commands data set from Daniel Bohannon to train this data. So my classifier was trained on those malicious commands, not on.
okay, I think I get it. Thanks.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Here.
Hi, could you please tell me what is the latest trend in Windows vulnerabilities?
There is like, used to be like a very, I don't know, people know about it. There was like an expert, like eternal blue, it has like a derivative. I don't know, most people know about it, eternal romance. If your system is not configured rightly, people can do a lot of stuff right now. The name was quite good.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yep.
In terms of your software, once you've deployed it onto a network, it'll take event logs from all the computers around the network. Does it then have does it have any protection at this stage, or is it just an informational return that comes back to you?
So I forgot to talk about it. So when you have to like domain environment, like an Active Directory environment, you can get all the logs from the systems. Okay, then you can process the information. The limitation of the software was like that it can like works on like maybe 300 set of 300 computers. So now we can host like in our cyber range we can host like an exercise of like 300 participants. It can work on that. But if you put it like in enterprise environment where there are like millions of nodes or maybe like 100,000 nodes, that's where it will fail like in second. So yeah.
Okay, so we don't have anything at enterprise level. We work with SMEs mostly. However, what does your application do when it does find a vulnerability? Does it then act on it, or just
just currently just for scoring, for making like things like that guy was there, so we can allocate some point automatically. So we can have like a track of like people who are like actually moving within the network, like students. So if you compare it with a real scenario, if you have a hacker in your network, so you can track the activity that how is moving laterally within the network.